The observation deck of the orbital research station hummed with a quiet intensity that betrayed nothing of the momentous preparations happening within its walls. Soft blue light from holographic displays cast gentle shadows across the faces of the scientific team, each member acutely aware of the historical moment approaching. Dr. Elena Martinez stood slightly apart from the main group, her eyes fixed on the complex data streams dancing across the primary display. She had spent the last decade of her career building toward this moment, a culmination of theoretical work that most of her colleagues had dismissed as impossible. The star chart before her was more than a simple map. It was a living, breathing representation of humanity's potential, each point of light a possibility waiting to be unlocked. Her team had discovered something fundamental about space-time, a weakness that could be manipulated, a potential that could be explored. Outside the station's reinforced windows, Earth hung like a blue-green jewel against the infinite darkness. Generations of human struggle, of scientific pursuit, of endless curiosity had led to this precise moment. The planet below seemed to hold its breath, unaware of the extraordinary potential about to be unleashed. Communication specialists worked with practiced efficiency, their fingers dancing across quantum-encrypted interfaces. Each movement was calculated, each gesture part of an intricate dance of technological preparation. They were the first line of defense, the early warning system that would detect the slightest hint of external threat. Dr. Marcus Chen, the project's lead coordinator, moved between workstations with a calm that belied the tension in the room. His background in xenolinguistics and advanced theoretical physics made him uniquely suited to lead this unprecedented mission. Years of studying alien communication patterns had revealed something most researchers missed: the fundamental limitations of linear thinking. "Status report," he called out, his voice calm and measured. A young communication specialist looked up, her eyes bright with a mixture of excitement and professional focus. "Xorak's fleet is maintaining approach vector. They've broadcast their standard colonization declaration. No deviation from expected communication patterns." The irony was not lost on anyone in the room. The Xorax Imperium, a species that had conquered dozens of civilizations, was about to encounter something completely beyond their comprehension. Their technological superiority, their centuries of interstellar dominance, meant nothing against the breakthrough humanity was about to demonstrate. Dr. Martinez walked to the main holographic display, her fingers tracing invisible lines of complex mathematical equations. What looked like random patterns to an untrained eye was actually a sophisticated quantum communication network, a system that could manipulate space-time itself. "Final calibration sequence initiated," she announced, her voice steady. The room fell into a profound silence. Decades of research, billions in funding, thousands of brilliant minds working in perfect synchronization. All of it had led to this moment. Humanity was about to show the galaxy that they were far more than just another emerging species. On the primary display, the Xorax fleet continued its approach. Massive ships, each capable of obliterating entire planetary populations, moved with mechanical precision. They represented the pinnacle of military technology in known space, or so they believed. What they didn't understand was that technology was more than just firepower. It was about understanding, about creativity, about seeing possibilities where others saw only limitations. Dr. Chen moved to stand beside Martins, both of them watching the approaching fleet with a sense of calm anticipation. "They're going to be quite surprised," he said softly, a hint of a smile playing at the corner of his mouth. The communication specialist interrupted the moment. "Incoming transmission from Fleet Command," she reported. "Standard colonization protocol. Requesting immediate planetary access and resource allocation." No one in the room responded. They didn't need to. The Starlight Protocol was about to speak for itself. Quantum entanglement systems hummed to life. Computational arrays that could process more information in a second than most civilizations could in a decade began their intricate dance. The very fabric of space-time seemed to hold its breath, waiting. Earth's most extraordinary moment was about to begin. The The quantum computing center stretched across 3 subterranean levels, a marvel of engineering that defied traditional understanding of computational power. Soft blue light pulsed through transparent data conduits, creating an almost living atmosphere of technological potential. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the heart of this neural network of machines, her fingers hovering above a holographic interface that seemed to breathe with computational energy. Each movement created cascading waves of mathematical possibilities, exploring realities that existed between known physical laws. Quantum stabilization at 97.3%, called out Dr. Samuel Kim, the lead quantum systems engineer. His voice carried a mixture of professional detachment and barely contained excitement. Years of theoretical work were about to be validated in the most extraordinary way possible. The Starlight Protocol was more than just a defensive system. It was a complete reimagining of space-time interaction. Traditional scientific approaches viewed space and time as fixed parameters. Rodriguez's team saw them as malleable, responsive systems that could be understood, manipulated, and ultimately controlled. A massive computational array hummed to life, its quantum processors working simultaneously across multiple potential realities. Most scientific teams would be satisfied with linear computational models. This team was exploring quantum states that existed simultaneously, an approach that challenged everything known about physical computation. "System anomaly detected," announced Dr. Kim, his fingers dancing across a secondary interface. "Quantum entanglement patterns are showing unexpected resonance." Rodriguez moved closer, her eyes scanning the intricate data streams. What looked like random noise to an untrained observer was actually a complex language of mathematical potential. Each fluctuation represented a potential timeline, a possible interaction of space-time that could be manipulated. "Isolate the resonance pattern," she instructed. "We need to understand its fundamental structure." The room was a symphony of technological wonder. Researchers from diverse scientific backgrounds worked in perfect synchronization. Theoretical physicists stood alongside quantum engineers. Computational linguists collaborated with aerospace design specialists. This was more than a research project. It was humanity's most ambitious scientific endeavor. A holographic model of space-time flickered to life in the center of the room. It wasn't a static representation, but a dynamic, breathing system that responded to computational interactions. Potential realities branched and merged, creating a living map of scientific possibility. "The Thorax won't understand what's happening," muttered Dr. James Okoro, a specialist in xenotechnology. "Their computational models are fundamentally linear. They see technology as a series of fixed solutions. We're creating something fluid, adaptive." Rodriguez nodded. Humanity's greatest strength had always been adaptability. Where other species saw rigid systems, humans saw opportunities for innovation. The Starlight Protocol embodied this fundamental human characteristic, the ability to reimagine the impossible. "Quantum entanglement sequence initiating," announced the primary computational system. Its voice was neither male nor female, a pure representation of technological potential. The entire room seemed to hold its breath. Decades of research, billions in funding, thousands of the most brilliant minds working in perfect harmony. All of it had led to this moment. Dr. Kim's hands moved with practiced precision, introducing complex mathematical variables that would have appeared completely nonsensical to traditional scientific approaches. Each input was a potential pathway, a new way of understanding space-time interaction. "Dimensional resonance increasing," he reported. "We're achieving quantum states that theoretically shouldn't be possible." The holographic model began to shift, creating impossible geometric patterns that defied traditional understanding of physical space. Lines of computational energy connected in ways that suggested multiple realities existing simultaneously. Rodriguez watched the display, her mind racing through potential scenarios. This wasn't just about defending against the Thorax fleet. This was about demonstrating humanity's unique approach to scientific understanding. "Full computational matrix engaged," the system announced. The quantum computing center vibrated with a low, almost imperceptible frequency. It was the sound of scientific potential being unleashed, a frequency that suggested something extraordinary was about to happen. Humanity was about to rewrite the rules of interstellar interaction. And the galaxy would never be the same. The Deep Space Monitoring Station hung like a silent sentinel, its array of quantum sensors stretched across an impossibly large network. Commander Helena Santos watched the Thorax fleet's approach with a calculated calm that masked the extraordinary preparation happening behind the scenes. Multiple holographic displays tracked the alien vessels with pinpoint precision. Each ship was a massive construct of metallic complexity, designed for total planetary subjugation. The Thorax had conquered dozens of civilizations, their technological superiority unquestioned in known space. They moved with a cold, mechanical certainty that suggested complete confidence in their ultimate victory. Incoming fleet configuration confirmed, reported Lieutenant Michael Chen, his fingers dancing across multiple quantum-encrypted interfaces. 17 primary battleships, 43 support vessels, comprehensive planetary invasion matrix. Santos studied the display, noting every minute detail. The Thorax communication patterns were like a well-orchestrated machine, predictable, linear, completely devoid of the creative chaos that defined human thinking. They approached each conquest with a mathematical precision that had worked perfectly in every previous engagement. They had no concept of what was about to happen. Deep within the research facilities, Dr. Elena Rodriguez continued her final calibrations. The Starlight Protocol was more than a defensive system. It was a complete reimagining of space-time interaction, a technological marvel that would fundamentally challenge everything the Thorax understood about warfare and scientific possibility. Quantum Entanglement Network Stabilizing, announced the computational system. Its voice carried no emotion, just pure mathematical precision. The first wave of Thorax communication signals began to flood the monitoring systems. Standard colonization protocols, demanding immediate planetary access, resource allocation, and human surrender. Their messages were structured like mathematical equations, clean, precise, absolutely certain of the outcome. Commander Santos allowed herself the briefest moment of a smile. The primary quantum communication array began to pulse with an almost organic rhythm. To the untrained eye, it might have looked like random energy fluctuations. To the research team, it was a sophisticated language of mathematical potential, a conversation happening at the fundamental level of reality itself. Thorax fleet entering final approach vector, Lieutenant Chen reported. They're maintaining standard invasion formation. Every sensor, every computational system was perfectly synchronized. Years of research had led to this moment, a demonstration that would redefine humanity's place in the universe. The massive alien ships continued their approach, each vessel a testament to technological brutality. Weapon systems powered up, planetary invasion protocols engaged. They had done this dozens of times before. Each conquest had been precisely the same. Overwhelming force, total submission. But humanity was about to show them something completely different. Quantum resonance field activating, the computational system announced. The first subtle changes were almost imperceptible. A slight shimmer in the space around the Thorax vessels, a momentary distortion that suggested something fundamental was changing. The alien fleet continued its approach, completely unaware of the extraordinary phenomenon beginning to unfold. Dr. Rodriguez watched the primary display, her breath steady, her mind racing through countless potential scenarios. This wasn't about destruction. This was about communication, a demonstration of a completely different approach to technological interaction. Initial quantum displacement sequence beginning, reported the system. Commander Santos gripped the edge of her command console. Decades of human scientific pursuit, thousands of brilliant minds working in perfect synchronization, were about to be validated in the most extraordinary way possible. The Thorax fleet continued its approach, broadcasting messages of absolute certainty. They had no idea what was coming. Humanity was about to speak a language of scientific potential that would echo across the galaxy, and everything was about to change. The first indication that something extraordinary was happening came as a subtle ripple, almost imperceptible, yet fundamentally wrong. Chief Navigator Krell of the Thorax flagship Dominance felt it before any of his sensors could register the anomaly. It was a feeling that defied the computational logic that had defined his entire existence. Space itself seemed to breathe. Not with violence, not with explosive energy, but with a mathematical precision that suggested something far more profound was occurring. Quantum sensors across the Thorax fleet began to register impossible readings. Computational systems designed to process vast amounts of data suddenly found themselves confronting information that defied every known scientific principle. Navigation arrays flickered. Communication networks dissolved into fragments of incomprehensible data. System malfunction, reported the primary navigation computer. But even as the words were processed, the system knew this was something else entirely. The Thorax had conquered civilizations across multiple star systems. They had faced every conceivable form of resistance. Their technological superiority was absolute, or so they had believed. Aboard the Dominance, Chief Navigator Krell watched in growing confusion as the space around his vessel began to shift. It wasn't a traditional distortion. It was something far more fundamental. Entire sections of the ship seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously. Corridors stretched and compressed. Crew members found themselves experiencing time in ways that defied linear understanding. Quantum stabilization protocols engaging, announced the ship's central computer. But its voice carried a note of uncertainty, something completely unprecedented in Thorax technological history. Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched the unfolding scenario from the research station's primary monitoring center. Each quantum displacement was a carefully calculated mathematical expression, a language of scientific potential that the Thorax could not comprehend. Dimensional resonance at 74%, reported Dr. Samuel Kim. His fingers moved across quantum interfaces that seemed to pulse with living energy. We're achieving quantum states that theoretically shouldn't be possible. The Thorax fleet was experiencing something beyond traditional warfare. Each ship became a test subject in the most elaborate scientific experiment ever conceived. Some vessels found themselves separated from their original crews. Others experienced time dilation that compressed decades into moments. A few ships even discovered themselves existing simultaneously in multiple quantum states. Chief Navigator Krell's computational mind struggled to process the impossible information. His species had built their entire civilization on the principle of absolute control, of mathematical certainty. Now, reality itself seemed to be unraveling around them. Quantum entanglement increasing, the ship's computer reported, but its voice was no longer confident. It was confused, uncertain. Across the fleet, similar scenarios played out. Navigation systems went haywire. Communication networks collapsed into fragments of impossible data. Crew members found themselves experiencing multiple realities simultaneously, existing in corridors that stretched and compressed, witnessing moments that happened both now and not now. The Starlight Protocol was not a weapon in any traditional sense. It was a complete reimagining of space-time interaction. Dr. Rodriguez watched the primary display, her breath steady. Each quantum displacement was a carefully calculated mathematical expression, a language of scientific potential that transformed the very concept of conflict. Dimensional mapping complete, announced the research station's computational system. On the holographic displays, the Thorax fleet appeared as a complex network of quantum possibilities. Ships existed in multiple states, their physical structures defying traditional understanding of space and time. Chief Navigator Krell's final computational log was a testament to the impossible, a series of mathematical expressions that suggested something fundamental had changed, not just in their mission, not just in their understanding of human capabilities, but in the very nature of reality itself. Humanity had just spoken a language of scientific potential that would echo across the galaxy, and nothing would ever be the same. The Quantum Research Center hummed with an energy that transcended traditional understanding of scientific achievement. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the center of a technological marvel that was rewriting the fundamental rules of space-time interaction. Quantum displacement tracking at optimal levels, reported Dr. Samuel Kim, his voice a mixture of professional calm and barely contained excitement. Each display showed the Thorax fleet's impossible journey, vessels scattered across unimaginable distances, existing in states that defied conventional physics. The primary holographic display was a living, breathing map of scientific potential. Colored quantum threads connected impossible points in space, demonstrating a level of technological understanding that would revolutionize human comprehension of the universe. "We're not just displacing their fleet," Dr. Rodriguez explained to the assembled research team. "We're creating a comprehensive demonstration of quantum possibility." Each Thorax ship had become an unwitting participant in the most elaborate scientific experiment ever conceived. Some vessels found themselves in distant star systems, light years from their original position. Others experienced time dilation that compressed decades into fleeting moments. A select few existed simultaneously in multiple quantum states, their very existence a testament to human scientific creativity. The monitoring systems captured every microscopic detail. Quantum sensors tracked the ship's impossible journeys, recording data that would take generations to fully comprehend. This was more than a defensive maneuver. It was a fundamental reimagining of technological interaction. Dr. James Okoro, the xenotechnology specialist, studied the display with intense concentration. "Look at the quantum resonance patterns," he said, pointing to a complex series of intersecting energy lines. "We're not just moving their ships, we're teaching them an entirely new language of scientific potential." Communication specialists worked frantically to analyze the quantum data streams. Each fragment of information was a window into a completely new understanding of space-time. The Thorax communication networks, once a model of precise, linear thinking, had been transformed into a complex tapestry of quantum possibilities. "Dimensional mapping continues to expand," announced the primary computational system. Its voice carried no emotion, just pure mathematical precision. Across the research center, scientists from multiple disciplines worked in perfect synchronization. Theoretical physicists stood alongside quantum engineers. Computational linguists collaborated with aerospace design specialists. This was humanity's most ambitious scientific endeavor, a demonstration that would echo across the galaxy. Dr. Rodriguez moved between workstations, her mind racing through the complex implications of their discovery. The Starlight Protocol was revealing something fundamental about the nature of technological interaction. Where the Thorax saw rigid systems, humanity had created a fluid, adaptive approach to scientific understanding. "Quantum entanglement patterns are showing unprecedented stability," reported a young research assistant, her eyes wide with the implications of the data streaming across her display. The holographic model of the displaced Thorax fleet continued to evolve. It was a living representation of scientific potential. Each ship a data point in a complex mathematical expression that suggested multiple realities could exist simultaneously. "We're not destroying them," Dr. Kim explained to a group of visiting military advisors. "We're demonstrating a completely different approach to technological interaction. Each displaced ship is a message, a communication that transcends traditional warfare." The research center vibrated with a low, almost imperceptible frequency. It was the sound of scientific potential being unleashed, a rhythm that suggested something extraordinary was happening. Quantum sensors continued to track the impossible journey of the Thorax fleet. Ships appeared and disappeared across the holographic displays, existing in states that challenged everything known about physical reality. Dr. Rodriguez allowed herself a moment of reflection. This was about more than defending humanity. This was about demonstrating a fundamental truth, that scientific potential is limited only by the ability to imagine beyond current understanding. Quantum displacement sequence continues to stabilize, the computational system announced. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had just spoken a language of scientific potential that would echo across generations, and everything was about to change. The first psychological reports began to filter in, and they were unprecedented in the history of interstellar conflict. Dr. Helena Martinez studied the incoming data streams with a mixture of professional detachment and scientific fascination. Thorax communication networks are experiencing complete systemic breakdown, reported Dr. Samuel Kim, his fingers moving across quantum-encrypted interfaces. But it's not just a technical failure. It's a fundamental crisis of understanding. Throughout the research center, teams of synapsologists, linguists, and computational experts work to analyze the extraordinary psychological impact of the Starlight Protocol. This was warfare conducted on a level that transcended traditional military strategy, a battle fought in the realm of perception and understanding. The Exorax had built their entire civilization on the principle of absolute control. Their social structures, technological systems, and interstellar governance were based on predictability and linear thinking. The quantum displacement had shattered those foundations completely. "We're observing something extraordinary," Dr. Marcus Chen explained to a group of military advisors. "It's not about destroying their fleet. It's about demonstrating the fundamental limitations of their technological and psychological approach." Quantum communication arrays continued to track the dispersed thorax vessels. Each ship was now a psychological experiment, experiencing realities that challenged everything they understood about existence. Time became fluid. Space became malleable. The very concept of linear progression dissolved. Reports from quantum monitoring stations painted a remarkable picture. Thorax crew members were experiencing multiple simultaneous realities. Communication logs showed increasing signs of existential confusion. Their rigid computational systems could not process the fundamental challenge to their understanding of reality. Psychological destabilization is progressing beyond our initial projections, noted Dr. Martinez in her primary report. Each displaced ship was a testament to human scientific creativity, a living demonstration of technological potential that the thorax could not comprehend. The communication specialists worked with unprecedented intensity. They weren't just tracking data. They were decoding an entirely new language of scientific potential. Every quantum transmission was a message, carefully crafted to challenge the thorax's fundamental understanding of existence. "We're seeing complete systemic breakdown in their decision-making processes," reported Lieutenant James Rodriguez, studying the quantum communication intercepts. "Their entire command structure is collapsing under the weight of quantum uncertainty." The Starlight Protocol was revealing something fundamental about technological interaction. Where the thorax saw rigid systems, humanity had created a fluid, adaptive approach to scientific understanding. Each displaced ship carried with it an encoded message, a communication that transcended traditional warfare. Synapsologists noted something particularly fascinating. The Exorax were experiencing a collective psychological event that challenged their entire evolutionary understanding. Their species had never encountered a form of conflict that operated outside their comprehension. "It's like watching a mathematical equation suddenly develop consciousness," Dr. Chen explained during a briefing. "We're not just displacing their fleet. We're fundamentally challenging their understanding of reality itself." Quantum sensors continued to track the impossible journey of the thorax vessels. Ships appeared and disappeared across monitoring displays, existing in states that suggested multiple simultaneous realities. Communication logs became increasingly fragmented, filled with impossible mathematical expressions that defied traditional understanding. The research center vibrated with a low, almost imperceptible frequency. It was the sound of scientific potential being unleashed, a rhythm that suggested something extraordinary was happening. Dr. Martinez studied the primary display, her mind racing through the complex implications of their discovery. This was more than a defensive strategy. This was a comprehensive demonstration of human scientific potential, a message that would echo across the galaxy. Psychological destabilization protocols continue to progress, announced the primary computational system. Its voice carried no emotion, just pure mathematical precision. Across the galaxy, other spacefaring species would soon receive fragments of this extraordinary event. The Thorax fleet's impossible journey would become a legend, a testament to human scientific creativity that challenged everything understood about technological interaction. The Starlight Protocol was more than a defensive mechanism. It was a language of scientific potential that spoke volumes without firing a single weapon. Humanity had just rewritten the rules of interstellar engagement, and nothing would ever be the same. The Thorax High Command assembled in their most secure communication chamber, a massive construct of technological precision that had once symbolized their absolute control over galactic affairs. Now it felt like a tomb of obsolete certainty. High Strategist Vexnar stood at the center of the chamber, his computational interfaces flickering with impossible data streams. The fleet that had been the pride of Thorax military might have been reduced to a scattered collection of quantum anomalies, each vessel a testament to a technological understanding that defied their most fundamental principles. Tactical analysis, Vexnar commanded, his voice betraying the first hints of uncertainty that had ever entered Thorax leadership communication. The primary computational system struggled to respond. Quantum displacement had transformed their most advanced tracking systems into a labyrinth of impossible data. Ships existed in states that challenged the very concept of existence. Communication networks dissolved into fragments of incomprehensible mathematical expressions. Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched from the Human Research Station, her team tracking every microscopic detail of the unfolding scenario. This wasn't a traditional confrontation. It was a comprehensive demonstration of scientific potential that would redefine interstellar interaction. Quantum resonance continuing to expand, reported Dr. Samuel Kim, his fingers moving across interfaces that pulsed with living energy. We're achieving states of dimensional interaction that theoretically shouldn't be possible. The Thorax had prepared for every conceivable form of resistance. They had conquered civilizations across multiple star systems, their technological superiority considered absolute. Advanced weapon systems stood ready. Planetary invasion protocols were meticulously designed. They had no concept of what was coming. Across multiple quantum monitoring stations, human researchers worked with unprecedented intensity. Each data stream was a window into a completely new understanding of space-time. The Thorax fleet, once a symbol of absolute military might, had become a living experiment in scientific potential. Tactical systems are experiencing complete systemic breakdown, reported a Thorax communication specialist, her voice carrying a note of existential confusion. Their most advanced computational systems were failing, unable to process the fundamental challenge to their understanding of reality. High Strategist Vexnar watched as holographic displays showed impossible scenarios. Ships appeared and disappeared across multiple dimensional states. Communication networks collapsed into fragments of quantum possibility. Their entire approach to conflict was being dismantled, not through conventional warfare, but through a demonstration of scientific understanding that transcended their comprehension. Dr. Marcus Chen explained to a group of military advisors, "We're not destroying them. We're demonstrating the fundamental limitations of their technological approach." The research center vibrated with a low, almost imperceptible frequency. It was the sound of scientific potential being unleashed, a rhythm that suggested something extraordinary was happening. Quantum sensors continued to track the impossible journey of the Thorax vessels. Each ship became a data point in a complex mathematical expression that suggested multiple realities could exist simultaneously. Their most advanced weapon systems stood powerless, transformed into nothing more than complex mathematical curiosities. Dimensional mapping continues to expand, announced the human computational system. Its voice carried pure mathematical precision. The Thorax High Command found themselves confronting a fundamental truth. Their entire civilization was built on the principle of absolute control, of mathematical certainty. Now, reality itself seemed to be unraveling around them. "We cannot compute," repeated the Thorax primary computational system, a phrase that would echo through their historical records as a moment of complete technological surrender. Dr. Rodriguez studied the primary display, her mind racing through the complex implications of their discovery. The Starlight Protocol was revealing something fundamental about the nature of technological interaction. Where the Thorax saw rigid systems, humanity had created a fluid, adaptive approach to scientific understanding. Across the galaxy, other spacefaring species would soon receive fragments of this extraordinary event. The Thorax fleet's impossible journey would become a legend, a testament to human scientific creativity that challenged everything understood about interstellar conflict. The final confrontation was not a battle of weapons. It was a battle of understanding. Humanity had just spoken a language of scientific potential that would echo across generations, and everything was about to change. The diplomatic conference chamber hummed with an unprecedented energy. Representatives from dozens of spacefaring civilizations studied the comprehensive report on humanity's extraordinary technological demonstration. What had begun as a potential invasion had transformed into the most significant scientific event in galactic history. Dr. Marcus Chen stood at the center of the gathering, his presentation a masterpiece of scientific diplomacy. The holographic displays behind him showed fragments of the Starlight Protocol, a visual symphony of quantum possibilities that challenged everything known about interstellar interaction. "We're not offering a weapon," Dr. Chen explained to the assembled representatives. "We're offering a new approach to understanding reality itself." The Thorax delegation sat in stunned silence. Their once mighty fleet had been reduced to a collection of quantum anomalies, living proof of humanity's unprecedented scientific potential. Their rigid hierarchical structure had been completely dismantled, not through violence, but through a demonstration of technological understanding that defied conventional comprehension. Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched from the side of the chamber, her team of researchers having prepared every microscopic detail of the presentation. This was more than a diplomatic meeting. It was a fundamental reimagining of interstellar cooperation. Quantum communication specialists have been working overtime, translating the complex mathematical language of the Starlight Protocol into a format that other civilizations could understand. Each data stream was a window into a completely new understanding of spacetime, of technological potential. "The protocol is not a weapon," Dr. Chen continued. "It's a communication method, a way of understanding that transcends traditional linear thinking." Representatives from the Zorn Collective leaned forward, their multiple sensory organs processing the information with intense concentration. The Krell-TAC diplomatic corps exchanged rapid communication bursts, their complex biological communication systems working overtime to comprehend the implications. Dr. Helena Martinez stepped forward, presenting the ecological and technological implications of the Starlight Protocol. "We're offering a new approach to resource sharing, to technological development, to understanding the fundamental nature of reality itself." The holographic displays continued to shift, showing impossible geometric patterns that suggested multiple realities could exist simultaneously. Ships that had been displaced now appeared as data points in a complex mathematical expression, each one a potential pathway to a new understanding of existence. The Thorax representative finally spoke, its communication systems struggling to process the fundamental challenge to their understanding. "We cannot compute the full implications," it stated, a phrase that would become legendary in diplomatic circles. Dr. Rodriguez studied the room, understanding the profound moment unfolding. Humanity had not conquered through violence. They had demonstrated a level of scientific creativity that transformed the very concept of interstellar interaction. "The Starlight Protocol is an invitation," Dr. Chen explained. "An invitation to explore scientific potential beyond traditional understanding. We're not offering dominance. We're offering collaboration." Quantum sensors continued to track the displaced Thorax vessels, each one a living demonstration of scientific potential. The research teams had transformed an attempted invasion into the most significant scientific event in galactic history. The diplomatic chamber vibrated with a low, almost imperceptible frequency. It was the sound of scientific potential being unleashed, a rhythm that suggested something extraordinary was happening. Representatives from smaller civilizations looked on with a mixture of hope and wonder. Humanity had demonstrated something fundamental, that technological potential is limited only by the ability to imagine beyond current understanding. "We propose a new galactic research initiative," Dr. Martinez announced. "A collaborative effort to explore the quantum possibilities we've only begun to understand." The Xorax delegation remained silent, their entire conceptual framework challenged by the presentation. What had been their greatest strength, their rigid, predictable approach to technological development, had been completely dismantled. Dr. Chen's final words echoed through the chamber. "We're not asking for submission. We're offering partnership, a chance to reimagine what's possible." The holographic displays continued to dance with quantum possibilities. Ships that had been weapons now became data points of scientific potential. The displaced Thorax fleet was no longer a military threat, but a living demonstration of humanity's approach to understanding reality. Across the galaxy, a new chapter was beginning. Humanity had just spoken a language of scientific potential that would echo across generations, and everything was about to change.